I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Greene, member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee and Vice Chair of the Subcommittee on Health.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague for allowing me to speak. I rise today in support of this resolution. The President's escalation, or surge as he calls it, is not a strategy that will quell the violence in Iraq. We've heard for too long that change in Iraq is just around the corner, and we've continued to spend billions of dollars and taken thousands of U.S. casualties. I've supported our goals to bring democracy to Iraq, voted for the Iraq resolution, and voted for the billions of dollars to support that effort. But I will not vote to cut funding for our troops while they're in the field in Iraq and Afghanistan. They are doing their best with a very flawed plan. And that doesn't come from just Greene saying it. I heard it from less than a year after we went there, from emails that parents forwarded me. Our goals were great in Iraq. The plan was not. The administration's plan has not worked since the first year. It's time we send a strong message to the President that we no longer support the administration's strategy. President Bush addressed the nation on January the 10th of this year to announce his plans to send an additional 21,500 soldiers and Marines to Iraq. This move ignores advice from the military and has been tried before without success. General John Abizaid, former commander of the Central Command, testified before the Senate Armed Services Committee on November 15th of 2006 that he and General George Casey, the Corps commander, and Lieutenant General Martin Dempsey all agreed that more troops were not needed. The White House is continuing with the same flawed strategy to pacify the country that has not worked, and adding another 20,000 troops will not make it work. March 19th of this year will mark 4 years since we went into Iraq. May 1 will mark 4 years since the President declared mission accomplished. But we turn on the news today and still see headlines: car bombers kill 60 in Baghdad, 4 more American soldiers killed in gunfight with militia. We've made great strides in Iraq, but we are now trying to police a war between sectarian armies. Our troops have performed at all that they've been asked of them, and according to the National Security Council's analysis, we've achieved many of our initial objectives: removing Saddam Hussein from power, assisting Iraq with the Constitution and free elections, and helping establish democratic institutions. It's time for the Iraqis to take control of their own country, and we begin bringing our troops home. This is the best interest of our military, the Iraqis, and our national security. Our forces cannot indefinitely sustain the demands we currently are placing on them. Joint Chiefs Chairman Peter Pace acknowledged last week when testifying before the House Armed Services Committee that non-deployed U.S. forces are not sufficiently equipped, echoing similar concerns expressed recently by Army Chief of Staff Peter Schoomaker and the Lieutenant General Stephen Blum, Chief of the Pentagon's National Guard Bureau. The Guard nationwide has only equipped about 30% of their needs. Units are taking equipment with them into theater and being forced to leave much of it for those units to use when they come home. It will cost about $25 billion to re-equip the National Guard and reserves to pre-Iraqi war levels. We cannot continue to send troops to Iraq for 12-month deployments every other year and expect to maintain a well-equipped and experienced fighting force with high morale. This resolution expresses the beliefs of many members of this House that sending additional 21,500 troops to Iraq is not in our nation's interest and not a solution for the violence in Iraq. The solution is for the Iraqi government, the elected government, to do what they need to do. I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting this resolution. I yield back my time.